It's been a minute since I've planned out this video. No more waiting. It's time to do it. How to win with Gloomspite Gitz. Squig version. Oh, so I've been playing Gitz for a while now, and I do not consider myself to be super well versed. I don't consider myself to be an expert in this army. Having played orcs and made content about orcs and interviewed people about orcs for almost a year now. It's been almost a year. I started YouTube in February of 2023. Having done it now for almost a year, I feel really comfortable with orcs. I've played so many games in person, Tabletop Simulator, in competitive formats, in casual formats, team formats, Iron Jaws, Big Wah, Cruel Boys. I'm feeling pretty confident with my understanding of the army. I'm feeling very confident with my the subtle ins and outs of all the different mechanics and the synergies, how things work together. And it's time for me to branch out, and I'm gonna cover green skins as an entire group. My channel is green skins. Green skins. That was always the plan. Those are the armies I collect. So let's get started. But before we do, the purpose of me making these videos primarily, and this is how it started for me with this YouTube channel, was to grow my understanding. Many people have made many comments in Discord and in the comments section to illuminate blind spots that I had, or things I overvalued or undervalued. So, join the conversation. Come hit me up on Discord and tell me why I made a mistake in this video. Please do. That's how I improve and get better at this game. So let's get started. So first, just a general overview of this army. So of course we are approaching Gloomspite Gitz here from a Squig perspective. The book is too big, it has too many war scrolls, I think, to cover from one approach. It's like me doing how to win with orcs as opposed to how to win with Iron Jaws, Bone Splitters, and so on. So just a quick overview of the Squig based army. So really high mobility. Hoppers go 10 inches plus D6, very far, and they can run in charge, like really high mobility. We have some recursion, the 4-up rally, and we also have the Loon Shrine ability at the end of your turn. So both of these are good, and you can lean into them to make them even better. We have a large war scroll selection, like a very large war scroll selection. I mean, Gitz is a very old army, and so has very old sculpts, very old units. So there's a lot to choose from. They're fun. I mean, I personally think of all the books of all the armies in Age of Sigmar, I think that the green skins are easily having the most fun. Orcs are just in it for the fight. Orcs are having a great time. Gitz are having a great time as long as they're winning. But, it's quite a fun army, like little goblins riding on Squigz, and oh, look at this one. This little Squig herd has eaten one of the herders. Huh? Like, it's just great. Good rules. And it's also a relatively strong army. It was at the top of the meta for a while. It's since been rebalanced. I don't want to say nerfed. I think there's a lot of things that were changed in the book that were just made fair, right? But they are a strong army. Cons: large war scroll selection. Decision paralysis. There's a lot to look at, a lot to learn, a lot of decisions to make, and that can be a con as well as a pro. There's lots of auras and buffs, so for those that play, like an army like Stormcast Eternals, there's very few auras and ranges that you have to keep track of, but in this one, there can be quite a lot. Between, like, Squig Boss and Gobblepalooza, Sneaky Snufflers, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of measuring to do. You also need to have a fair bit of planning. You need to think about where the bad moon is and where you have light of the bad moon and how that's going to work. So that's another thing too. The book generally lacks monsters. I mean, if we look at the behemoth section, right? We'll have Ale Guzzler Gargant, Mangler Squig, and then a bunch of big spiders, right? And that's about accurate. You know, we'll have like a hero spider, a hero squig, Trug, and Kragnos. Those are our hero behemoths. And then like non-hero versions of those as regular behemoths. And to be honest, a lot of them aren't very strong. Like we just don't have any really good, smashy, big, like good monsters. I mean, Trug, like, I don't know. And very weak shooting. You know, Shootas, like what shooting do we really have? Right? Like Shootas throw in a unit of 20 will throw 40 dice and deal 3.5 damage. It's a big problem. I do not like volume of dice that accomplish nothing. That's a bummer. That's the one thing about this book that I think is actually just bad is Shootas and playing like that style. You're right? Because theoretically, this book has 4 sort of ways to play the army, and 5, I guess. You have Squigz, you got spiders, you have Trogs, you have Moon Clan, like Grots on foot, which almost nobody plays, and then you have like the combinations therein, right? So the Horde version, like the King's Gitz with Shootas and Stabas, it's yeah, it's just, I mean, whatever, tier list, right? Okay, so battle traits. So the Bad Moon. Units under the light of the Bad Moon get buffs. Squigs get run and charge. Trogs get +1 to their saves. Moon Clan units get a 4-up rally. Spiders cause mortal wounds on 5s and 6s instead of just 6s. So it's cool. And then you have units, of course, that have multiple keywords. So then they're actually able to benefit from multiple of these buffs. So for example, Hoppers have the Moon Clan keyword and they have a Squig keyword, so they can rally on a 4-up and they can run and charge. That's one of the big reasons, well, maybe not a huge reason, but it is, I think, one of the reasons why Squigz does very well in this army. Like, I think that Squigs do the best. I think they are the best army within this book, and I think Trogs are the second one, and then Spiders and the Moon Clan being kind of at the bottom, but the fact that they have this 4-up rally and run and charge is definitely helpful. And then as the game progresses, before you roll for priority at the end of round 1 and round 2 and such, you roll, and on a 4-up the moon moves to another quadrant. So it starts in one quadrant of the battlefield, and then it moves into the middle where it takes up the whole board, and then it moves to the far quadrant, and then it moves off the table. So there's some chance there, unless you're playing Scragrot, which helps to mitigate that, but yeah, Bad Moon is cool. I just like the aesthetic of it. There's also, so again, there's more to it than this, but we're just going to focus on the things that apply kind of to Squig armies. So there is a heroic action, Beckon the Lunatic Horde. Only a Moon Clan hero affected by the light of the Bad Moon can carry out this heroic action. So Moon Clan heroes, I mean, there's a lot of them. Loon Boss on Mangler Squig, Fungoid Cave Shaman, Grinkrat, Loon Boss in all his varieties, Madcap Shaman, Scragrot, Squig Boss, Sarbag, and Rabble Rouza. Like, there's quite a number of these Moon Clan heroes. And they can immediately issue rally up to 3 times without any command points being spent. So it's a heroic action, so a triple rally. So this can be actually really, really strong. It doesn't come up all that often. Generally speaking, you're only really rallying like 1 unit, and so you end up spending a command point to do this. But if you have any units, you know, that are all within range, like, and you're not sure what heroic action to use, I mean, Gitz can pump out actually a fair number of command points, so that can be really helpful. So, you know, you can use a command point just to rally 1 instead, or you can also use the heroic action because there's no other heroic actions that you're really looking to, right? So that can be pretty good, pretty strong. And then you have Giant Boing. So this is only a Mangler Squig can do this. And so after you finish a charge, you can use this heroic action, and you make another 3d6 move, and you finish in combat again. So this monster section is actually kind of scary because you also have I mean, I guess it doesn't say that it makes a 3d6 move, but it had, like, Mangler Squigs have a Cur Splat ability, So after they make a charge move, you pick one enemy unit within 1 and roll a die for each model in that unit to a maximum of 10, and for each 4-up, they suffer a mortal. So it's kind of like not really a horde buster, but like a battle line buster, right? So you can deal like 5 mortal wounds to a unit of 10 or more. So that, I mean, that's pretty cool. And then so they curse splat, and then they do this giant boing, and they bounce away, and they get into the back line. I think it's a sleeper. I think it's stronger than people think. So command traits. So now we're getting down into, again, just the things that really are relevant for Moon Clan, or sorry, for like things that want to go on Grots. So of course we have the Clammy Hand. This is very good at bringing back more units and makes the moon or the shrine way more reliable, and combos well with chasing the moon. So chasing the moon is a grand strategy that says that our general has to be under the light of the bad moon at least 3 out of the 5 rounds. So if you have a general with the Clammy Hand who's going to just hang out by the Loon Shrine, this makes this a very easy grand strategy to get. So what the Clammy Hand does, the general has to be within 12 inches of the bad moon Loon Shrine. And then when you actually use the Moon Clan Lair ability at the end of your turn, you can do it 2 times instead of just once. So that means that if you have 1 dead unit of Squigz, let's say of herd or whatever, and you roll and you fail, you can roll again and do it again. It also means that if you have 2 units that are waiting in the queue to come out of the shrine, if you roll once and you're successful, you can roll again and have a chance to bring back 2 units. This is to be differentiated from the King's Git sub-faction ability. What that does is it brings out you can re-roll, so you can only have a maximum of 1, but you can re-roll if you fail the first time. So I think the Clammy Hand is actually better than King's Gits, right? Because if you fail, it's like you get a re-roll, right? If you fail the first one with Clammy Hand, you get to roll it again. But if you're successful the first time with Clammy Hand, you get to still roll again. But if you do King's Gits, if you're successful the first time, you don't get to roll again. You just get that unit back. And of course, when they're played in tandem, the 2 of them together, you can roll twice, and each one gets a re-roll. So I mean, that's my favorite one. I like that one. Then you have Loon Touched. This is for only a wizard. The general can cast 1 additional spell in each of your hero faces while they're affected by the light of the bad mood. So this really depends on the list. We tend to have enough casts already, but it is a spell meta, right? So it's like if you have a general that has, let's say, I mean, I don't know, if you have like lots of endless spells in your list, this could be cool. You know, if you don't have a lot of wizards in your list, this could be cool. And it's only 1 additional spell. It's not an additional unbind. Fight Another Day. So this is what you want to put on a Loon Boss on Mangler Squig if it's your general. So each time this general fights after all their attacks have been resolved, they make a 2d6 move. And they have to end outside of combat. So you can imagine a Loon Boss on Mangler Squig charging in, dealing that Curse Splat ability, then using their monstrous action to do a 3d6 move into the back line to stand beside some squishy hero. Attacking, right? You attack first, eat that little 5 wound hero, and then you use this command trait to just bounce away, right? It's a 2d6 move, so it's going to be like a 7-inch, roughly, move, and then you can sort of bounce away around a corner and just be super annoying, right? Just be super annoying. Just get out of combat for that turn. We also have Super Nasty Venom, but it's not going to be good with the Squig list because this is just for like Super Spider Fang heroes with mounts, so not really our thing. And then you have Squig Whisperer. This is a Squig hero with a mount, so this can include like a Loon Boss on Megler Squig or a Loon Boss on Giant Cave Squig, or something like that. Add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by this general's mount. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of meh. I don't feel like if you're playing a Squig boss or if you're playing a Mangler Squig that you need to have that extra damage. I feel like the strategy is to go after, like, to be evasive and to dive into their backline and pick off their easy to kill things. So more survivability I feel is better than more damage, but I mean, it's okay. I shouldn't dismiss it so outright, but I kind of just find it meh. Artifacts of Power. So we have the Staff of Sneaky Stealin'. This is my favorite choice, especially in this spell meta. So what the Staff of Sneaky Stealin' does is It's for wizards only. You get +1 casting, which is cool. So not for unbinds, just to cast spells. Each time the bearer unbinds a spell, you get to add 1 to the casting roll for the bearer for the rest of the battle. So that's pretty cool. So if you have a fungoid cave shaman who's got a staff of sneaky stealing, it's getting +1 to cast and knows blizzard, that's cool. Over the course of the game, you throw primal dice at unbinds and you unbind 3 spells, and now he has a +4 to cast and he knows blizzard. So that means that all that you need is an 8 on the dice, right? You just need 8 on the dice to cast blizzard. So it's like you spend your unbinds on, you spend your primal dice on unbinds, and then later you don't need to spend your primal dice on casting, or at least you are less likely to. So that's pretty cool. Moonface Mommet, good at defending against aggressive armies. So this is again just for a wizard. At the start of the combat phase, pick 1 enemy unit within 12 inches of the bear. Subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit until the end of that phase. So it's good for bringing down big guys, right? Subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target the unit. So if you're throwing 3 or 4 different units into a big thing, you can use this and reduce its save roll, right? And like, just imagine this against a Gargant army, right? It's like you're going to focus fire Gargants down 1 at a time, and this way you can be like, okay, that Gargant gets -1 save, pour a bunch of damage into it, get it off the table, rinse and repeat the next turn. Nibla's Itty Ring. Whoa. This is web spinner shamans can have a crazy casting roll. Where is it? Oh, why is this even on my list? Wizards only once per battle. Oh, I know why. Once per battle at the start of the hero phase, you can see that the bearer will call upon the ring's power. If you do so, roll a die and add the result to the casting roll made by the bearer until the end of that phase. So what it's doing is it's letting you like repeat or have like 1 really good casting turn, right? It's like an extra die. So I mean, it's kind of like having 1 extra primal die. So this can be good. It's for Spider Fang heroes only, but even in a Squig list, you might consider running, for example, a web spinner shaman as the general, and then you can have this 1 turn, like a blizzard turn, where you really need it. And then we have the Clammy Cowl. So this can make a Mangler Squig tanky. What it does is it subtracts 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the bear. So if you want to play that style with the Mangler Squig bouncing around in the back line, you can have -1 to hit against him. So just makes him a little bit harder to kill. These are the 4 artifacts of power that I picked out because they're the 4 that I think that are the strongest, that are the most obvious choices. But again, this is a learning opportunity for me. So let me know if there's something that you like to play that I haven't really considered here. Please let me know. So let's look at some spells. So we got Lore of the Moon Clan. Itchy Nuisance. The strike last effect is very powerful. Itchy Nuisance has a casting range of 6 and a range of 18, and then you pick an enemy and it gets the strike last effect. So this could be pretty good. Like, the strike last effect can be pretty strong, especially on your opponent's turn. Let's see. So you can only do this on your turn, because you can't do this on your opponent's turn because it only lasts until the end of the turn. So when you cast this, you're like, okay, it's my turn. You know, I have 3 units attacking something big that I want to die. So I'm going to Itchy Nuisance it, give it the strike last effect. And then a few of my units are going to tag it first and get a chance to bring it down. So it can be situationally good. It's good because the Fungoid Cave Shaman can once per turn or once per battle cast an extra spell. So this can come in handy there. And of course, Scragrot knows the whole lore of the Moon Clans. So to be honest, I don't think this is worth picking and choosing to put on a caster, but it is worth remembering that depending on your list, there's a couple of opportunities to cast this, even if you haven't chosen it. So there's Nickit. Spell casting value of 8 to range of 12. Pick 1 enemy model within range invisible. Suffers D3 mortal wounds. Okay. In addition, if that model bears an artifact of power and the unmodified casting roll was a 10+, that model's artifact of power can no longer be used. So it's broken. You break artifacts of power. This can be surprisingly strong. And again, this is like a Scragrot Fungoid Cave Shaman spell that you would choose because, like, it's situational. Not only do they have to have, well, they will have an artifact of power, but they have to be within range, right? Because it's only 12 inches. So if you're playing like an aggressive Scragrot where you're going to march them up the table, then you can use this ability to like knock out something annoying that an enemy hero has. Even just like an Amulet of Destiny. It's like, bye, you don't get that spell or that word anymore. Squiglure, spell that has a casting value of 5 and a range of 18. Pick a friendly squig, wholly within range. You can re-roll charge rolls. Yep, so squigs are super fast, so they don't need a re-roll for charge rolls. They just don't need it. They can get in, right? Like redeploy off my move, and I have a 3-inch charge, so the maximum you're gonna get to 9-inch charge. It's like, well, like okay. Hand of Gork, this is my go-to. I'll often have at least 2 sources within a list that have Hand of Gork. Who doesn't love a good teleport spell? Casting value of 7 and a range of 24. It has a range of 24 inches. It's double the teleport range of most of the teleport spells. So this one feels really good. It's a great teleport spell. Those are all the spells of the Loon Clan. So spells of the Spider Fang, there might be some here. I mean, Scuttling Terror, like you can look, I'm gonna just briefly go through these, but you're not taking other Spider Fang units, so it's like, who cares? Sneaky Distraction is fine, right? -1 to hit rolls for a few different units seems fine. But like whatever, Gobblepalooza's kind of got a better version of this. And yeah, Curse of the Spider Fang God, like it's fine. But there's, I don't know, overall there are a lot of good spells to choose from. Which casters and which spells you take is going to largely depend on your personal playstyle and the meta in which you play. It's better to have a good plan than to take the, quote, best spells. So, Lore of the Spider Fang is fine. Sub-factions. So there's 3 that I want to talk about with respects to Gitz. So we have the Jaws of Mork. This is, I mean, easily very good. We're running a ton of squigs. What you get is when squig units charge, the squigs themselves get +1 attacks. So that would be like, yeah, like the actual squigs, not the riders, none of that stuff, right? Just the actual squigs on the top is what we're getting here. Then we got the King's Gitz. So this is, I've mentioned this before, this is where you're adding those different ways of recursion together. If you have the Clammy Hand and you have King's Gitz, you get to roll twice for the Bad Moon Loon Shrine, and you get to re-roll each time. So there is a style where you play, where this is what you do, right? You play the King's Gitz, and you re-roll, and then you just throw things at your opponents. I think Bounders are kind of the go-to for this right now. There's a doubles tournament coming up that I'm kind of prepping for, in which I plan on playing Gitz. And right now, it's like, why not just run 4 units of 5 Bounders, run King's Gitz, run the Clammy Hand, and then just run units of 5 Bounders into my opponent, and they die, okay? And then I just get 3 more Bounders back, right? So like if you lean into this recursion, like it can actually be pretty good. But just remember that the Loon Shrine is not very strong. It's not a very good ability unless you're really taking the Clammy Hand and King's Gitz. If you do that, you can play a recursion army where you're just going to bring back a whole bunch of stuff. But if you don't, then it's kind of overkill. And it's going to be Murphy's Law. When you need something to come back out of the shrine, that's when you're going to roll the 1, the 2, the 3. Right? When you need it to happen, it's going to fail. And when you're winning and snowballing, that's when you're going to successfully roll those 4 ups. So rolling twice with re-rolls each, things are coming back. Right? Things are coming back. I mean, the probability is that you're definitely going to get at least 1 unit back every time you roll, but sometimes you'll get 2. Feels good. Bad Snatchers. So Bad Snatchers is another really interesting sub-faction that you can take. Each time a casting roll is made for a friendly Bad Snatchers Moon Clan wizard, so this is only Fungoid Cave Shaman, Madcap Shaman, and Gobblepalooza, so you have to keep that in mind. If that wizard is wholly within 9 inches of any other friendly Bad Snatcher Moonclan wizard, you can re-roll one of the dice in that casting roll. So this helps in a couple different things. In this season right now, it helps us a lot with primal dice, because if you get a 1, right, you can re-roll one of those dice, and so the probability of having a primal miscast decreases, right? And you're also just more likely to be able to get all your spells off. And this says each time a casting roll is made. It's not once per turn, it's not once per battle. Every time you roll a casting roll, you can re-roll one of the 2 die that come with it. So basically, I would say like you want to re-roll 1s and 2s is what you want to do. And you want to roll 5s and 6s with those 1s and 2s. So, yeah, you can do that, right? Bad Snatcher Moonclan wizard. Oh, actually, I think I'm confusing this here, because what they get the Bad Snatcher, so they just need to be Moonclan wizards. So I mean, Fungoid Cave Shaman, Madcap Shaman, Scragrot the Loon King, and I think that's all. Gobblepalooza, right? They're a Moonclan wizard, I think. Probably. I'm thinking yes. So, I mean, like Fungoid, Scragrot, Gobblepalooza, like that's 5 casts just with those 3 units, right? That's 5 casts, and you get to reroll one of the dice, you know, like bring an endless spell, and it's like you're casting like Blizzard, you're casting Hoarfrost, like you're casting lots of scary stuff there. So definitely worth taking. But again, if you're new and you're not sure what to take, Jaws of Mork is the way to go. You're just going to deal more damage. It's good. Key units. So, haha, we have Squigz. Squig Herd are the slowest, but dang, they're good. Squig Hoppers are the fastest. They have 10 plus d6, and then they can run and charge. So, 190 points for 10. They are probably the worst, but still good. Like, they're probably the worst Squigs, but they're still good. And then Boingrot Bounders hurt so bad. Boingrot Bounders are terrifying. They're such a good cavalry unit. The thing about Boingrot Bounders that makes them so good, when they successfully charge, they deal like impact mortals, and you just count how many you have in your unit, and then you roll that many dice, and on 4-ups, they deal mortal wounds. So even if you just connect like one corner of one model to the enemy unit, you get to still roll 10 dice. It's not equal like to the number that are within 1 inch. It's nothing like that. It's just after you make a charge move, pick one enemy unit within 1, roll 10 dice. For every 4-up, it's a mortal wound. So that's why you'll see them in lists reinforced into 10s and into 15s, because like rolling 15 dice for every 4-up mortals, like you're gonna just delete things. You're just gonna delete things. Like you're expecting like with a unit of 15, you know, 7.5 mortals just for connecting. Like seems pretty good to me. Squig Boss with Nash Squig. So this is if you're gonna play Squigs, I think that the Squig Boss is a mandatory inclusion. He if you're playing Squig Herd, then he's definitely a mandatory inclusion, because he has that ability Release to Squigs, where every friendly Squig Herd unit wholly within 12 of him can make a normal move in the hero phase. Whoa. And it's every turn? Release the Squigs. If you do so, each friendly Squig Herd unit within 12 that is not made... Wow, this is worded so poorly. I'm just reading it right now. It says, release to Squigs. If you do so, each friendly Squig Herd unit within 12 inches of this unit that has not moved in this phase can make a normal move. So you just get to... It doesn't even say when you do it. This is not very well written. So, but it's in the hero phase. I think it's in the start of the hero phase. Cool. Yeah, and he also gives a really important buff to Squigs. When the Squigs themselves attack, if you roll 6s, they deal mortals in addition. So that's pretty scary too. Yep. And Bounders also get more damage and more rend on the charge from the Lance guys in the back. So if you're playing, yeah, I mean, Jaws of Mork and Bounders is good, like just extra damage. We have lots of good wizards: Fungoid Cave Shaman, Madcap Shaman, Scragrot the Loon King, Web Spinner Shaman with a 5-up board is definitely worth thinking about. We have Zarbag and Gobblepalooza. I think Zarbag's probably the weakest one on this list. Zarbag has like, yeah, some abilities. You can check him out yourself, but he's still worth thinking about, I think. He's unique, right? So that kind of takes away from him a little bit, but Gobblepalooza is really strong. Fungoid Cave Shaman is invisible outside of 12 inches. He's really strong. The Madcap Shaman is really strong. He has like another little ability that helps him with casting. You know, just very good. Just very good overall. We have many very good wizards. More key units: Shootas and Stabas. I refuse to take Shootas because I refuse to roll 40 dice and deal 3 damage. If I were to ever put Shootas in my list, I would just skip them in the shooting phase out of spite, because I hate rolling a ton of dice and doing nothing. I was playing a game with lots of Squig Herd the other day. I had a double reinforced unit of Squig Herd, and I was throwing buckets and buckets of dice from the Squig Herd. The difference is, when I throw buckets of dice from Squig Herd, they deal buckets of damage. I dealt something like 35, 40 wounds over the... Like they were fighting on death and fleeing and dealing mortal and all this, right? Like, they dealt so much damage. But that felt fine. Like, throwing buckets of dice and dealing buckets of damage feels good. But 40 dice for 4 damage. It's like, no thank you. Taking a pass on that. Stabas, however, are really cool because they can contest objectives outside of 9 inches. People don't understand how strong this is until they actually start playing it on the table. It's not just that, you know, you can contest an objective outside of 9. It's more, and it's more than just you get so many more feet on the objective so much more easily than your opponent does. What it does really do is forces your opponent to move into positions that they otherwise wouldn't want to. It forces them to pile off of objectives to kill Stabas. It lets you be further back so that you can contest objectives and be further from a charge. Like, this does a lot more than you would think. And if you've never played a unit of Stabas on the table in Gitz, I suggest you try it just to see what all the fuss is actually about. But Stabas are good. Stabas are good. They're even worth taking in a Squig list. Then you got your Troggoths, Rockgut, Fellwater, and Dankhold. I'd say of the 3, Rockguts are probably the only one worth really considering. Maybe 3, maybe 6. It depends on what kind of style you're going for in a Squig's list. But you can kind of have like a little mini castle with Trogs and Scragrots, and you know, Scraggy gives the Light of the Bad Moon in an aura, so all the Trogs are always going to have a 3-up save. Like, it can be worth looking at. Grinkrat the Great is very expensive, but his little lackey group, his Loon Court, is actually pretty good. Depending on the map, they can get a 4-up ward. Be careful when you're setting up terrain, right? If you're setting up terrain or choosing a sign and you're going to play Grinkrat in his Loon Court, think carefully about what terrain piece you want to claim as your quest. Loon Boss is also good. Loon Smasher Fanatics, super great unit. I love the Loon Smasher Fanatics. I just think that they're super fun. Some interesting things that you can do is they have to go inside of a Moon Clan Grot unit, so they can actually go inside a unit of Hoppers. Hold on. No, they can't go inside Hoppers because they cannot go with anything that has the Squig keyword, so sorry, they can't do that. But what they can do is go in Shootas and Stabas, obviously, but more interestingly, they can go inside Gobblepalooza and Grinkrat's Loon Court, right? They are Moon Clan Grot units that don't have the Squig keywords, so they can go inside Sneaky Snufflers. So I was just playing a for fun list. I had Gobblepalooza and Grinkrat, his Loon Court, and I was like, wow, I should just take a unit of Fanatics, and just because my opponent doesn't know which one they're in, and Gobblepalooza and Grinkrat, like in that game anyway, played like a backline screen, and so it's like, yeah, I don't know, like being able to throw out a bunch of dudes or whatever, like suddenly going from 5 to 10 feet on an objective alone seems interesting. So, and then the Spore Splatter Fanatics block line of sight, so they can be pretty good too. And Sneaky Snufflers give a 5-up ward when they don't move. This is something that I'm realizing is really, really good with Herd. That one of the problems I find with Squig Herd is that if they all die and you're not playing King's Gitz, right? If you're not playing that recursion, it can be really tough, even if they're fighting on death and fleeing. You know, like you want to be able to keep them alive so they can like be a tar pit. So they have 2 wounds each, and if you give them a 5-up ward, you know, 36. Like, think about this, okay? So 36 Squigs have 72 wounds. And then if you throw a 5-up ward, they go from having 72 wounds to about 96 functional wounds. That's a lot of wounds to have to chew through. 96 wounds worth of hurt, right? And if they're not dying, if they have a 5-up ward and they're not dying, it means that you're going to have more turns of recursion, where you're rolling from the herders and getting more and more back that they themselves are going to have 5-up wards. Like, it can make the Squig herd into a really crazy tar pit. And that's the style that I'm going for right now in the lists that I'm building. It's like, okay, a tar pit Squig herd, cool. You know, it's got a Squig, it's got the Squig boss, so they're still outputting a lot of damage. But yeah, like just scary, just scary. Whoa, and that's it. So I mean, like I'm gonna make some more videos on Gitz, and we'll talk about Spider Fang, and we'll talk about Trogs, and we'll go over some of their units and like some of their enhancements and everything. It's such a big book, I gotta break it up into 3, maybe even 4, we'll see. And then we'll also do like a unit tier list video to accompany these as well. But like, what did I miss? What did I forget to mention? What are you thinking? What did I do wrong? What did I overvalue? What did I undervalue? Please let me know in the comments below. Until then, like, subscribe. Wow.